Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tobin Brothers Paths of Life Funeral Centre for today's funeral service for Jarrod Youings, which will be held entirely in the chapel here today. We also welcome those viewing the service via the webcast. My name is Lou Gionfriddo from Tobin Brothers, and along with my colleagues Carl, Helen and Aldo, we'll be pleased to assist you in any way that we can. At the conclusion of the service here, there will be some light refreshments served in the chapel foyer, so if you're able to stay, please do so and continue to celebrate this wonderful man's life. Of course, that'll be followed by a private cremation. If you haven't had the opportunity, there is a memorial book at the entrance of the chapel. Please take the time to record your name. That's a great record for the family to know who is attending today, and there's so many of us here today for John. In a moment, we're going to listen to a very special piece of music that's been selected for John's funeral. But before that, could you please check your mobile phones to ensure that they're either turned off or on silent for the duration of the service today. And of course, leading the service for us today is our celebrant, Paul Hooper. And as I said, before Paul does come up to the microphone, we're going to listen to the piece of music that's been selected for John's funeral. Thank you.
land of hope and glory. We know John was a great Australian, but he never forgot where he came from, and he was very proud of his heritage and his background. So a lovely, bright and strong start to our service today. Good afternoon to you all, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends. Welcome to the Tobin Brothers Funeral Chapel here in St Albans, and to today's service where we have gathered to remember and honour and to give thanks for the life of John Walter Youings. My name is Paul Hooper. I'm a civil celebrant. I'll be leading today's service. I also offer a very warm welcome to those watching via the live streaming, the webcast today. Your presence is also very much welcomed, and we thank you for joining us at this time. As Lou mentioned, following the service today, please stay for some light refreshments which will be served here in the chapel foyer. And during our service today for John, we will hear a eulogy, which is the story of his very interesting life, as well as memories from those who are closest to him. We'll watch a photographic tribute to John, and there'll be time for reflection today. I had the pleasure of meeting with John's family in preparation of today's service for him, and I met in the family home, the hub of family life and activity. And although there were some sad moments, it still felt like that bustling, happy family place where the centre of family life was. And we talked about John's life and his loves, the things that were important to him, as well as the things that did make John happy. And he was described by his family as an outgoing and friendly man who was very proud. He was always a thorough gentleman. John was a man of extremely good values, and he passed these wonderful traits on to his sons. John couldn't sit still. You know, he was active. He loved working. He loved tinkering. He was a man of routine. He also had a great thirst for knowledge. He would enjoy reading several daily newspapers and watching Sky News. He was also very community-minded. He served Rotary with great distinction as president, as well as the VJ-SBA also as president, and in many other roles. Most of all, John was a devoted husband to Marge, as well as a dedicated father and father-in-law, grandfather and great-grandfather. John was also a true friend, a loyal friend. He was a good man. And so I'd like to share his eulogy with you, the story of his life, and then we'll hear from those who are closest to him. John Walter Youings was born in Barnstaple, Devon, in England on the 9th of May in 1941 to his parents Kathleen, Nora and Alec William, and Alec, his dad, was known as Bill. He was one of 3 children born to the couple, with his sister Mary and brother Jimmy making up the family. I do welcome Mary today, who can't be with us, but she's watching via the live streaming, and I had the opportunity to have a lovely chat with her. And she said to me that her brother was a lovely and a cheeky boy. He was inseparable with his brother Jimmy, and she said that John had an amazing imagination, and as a young boy he was much loved by everybody. I thank Mary for speaking with me. John's parents, they did divorce, and then the family moved to Aldershot, where he attended Manor Park School. He also referred to it as Gypsy's College. In 1950, his mother did remarry to Paul Burns, and they welcomed his half-brother Paul. Times were tough after World War II. You know, there was still food rationing for a long time, and so they were encouraged by their aunt Sylvia, who had moved to Australia years earlier, to maybe make the move, and they decided to leave England and head to Australia. I mean, this would have been a big decision at the time. So the family did immigrate to Australia. They travelled on the RMS Strathnava and arrived here on the 6th of April in 1956. On arrival, they lived in multiple migrant hostels around Victoria before settling in Footscray. That same year, John passed his equivalency exam to get into trade school to become an electrician. The following year, 1957, he did get an apprenticeship with H.T. Wheeler and Co. in South Melbourne as an electrical mechanic. Following his apprenticeship, he finished that in 1962, he took a job as a foreman at Beaumont Electrical Services, which was a bit closer to home. But then, in 1968, John meets and falls in love with Marge. He was on a work assignment, this is the story, he was on a work assignment when John met, now these are not my words, when John met a flirty office girl named Margie. She caught his eye and they started chatting. He asked her out and she said, yes, but only after you meet my parents. But a traditional man. Of course, John was happy to do that, and of course they've been together ever since. In 1971, they purchased their first home in Williamstown. And then in 1972, John decides to buy a block of land in Jan Juc. The house is built there in 1973, and people tell him he's crazy. Why would you buy a place when the town is full of beach bums and hippies? Maybe that's why he liked it. And it's too far from Melbourne to be a good weekend property, but little did they know. The same year in 1972 that John started his own company, John W. Youings and Co. Then in 1974, John and Marge welcomed their first son, a boy named Jeremy. In 1978, John buys his first jet ski. I mean, it was 1978. He had a love of boats, he owned a few over the years, and on a trip to Geelong with a friend, a strange new boat-like water toy caught his eye near a car dealership. They tested it out on the Barwon River, and so then he found the second love of his life, jet skiing. He buys the first of many. In 1979, Marge and John marry. And then in 1980, their second child, Jarrod, is born. Not long after, in 1981, they moved to their new home in Keilor Downs, which is still the family home today. John starts and is the founding member of the Jet Ski Racing Club, the VJSBA, in 1986, and he serves as president for the first 6 years. In 1989, their third child, Alex, is born. It's said that John gets clucky, not Marge, John gets clucky after Marge's sisters both have babies, so they decide to have a third child. No pressure, Marge. In 1993, John joined Rotary at St Albans here in this place where it was later changed to Brimbank, but we will hear some memories today about his service to Rotary from Lou Gionfriddo, who is also a long-term Rotarian and manager here. In 1994, John is appointed to the State Boating Council, and during his time there, he works on getting designated jet ski zones in Werribee and Urquharts Bluff. Come 2016, John is inducted into the Wake of Fame, the Time Achievement Award. This award is given to those individuals who paved the first generation of the 1970s for their recognition of their lasting impression on this amazing boating community. You know, John was so proud of his three boys as well. They all became electricians and they did their apprenticeships with him, following in his footsteps. He and Marge would go on to welcome and love grandchildren: Winona, Lily, Thomas, Ben, Ava, Parker, Fletcher and Mia, and great-grandchild Kylen. He loved spending time with his grandkids. He was there at all the big events, the graduations and basketball games, dance recitals, first days, school productions, christenings and art shows. He also loved his animals. He had a soft spot for pets that might have been discarded. He adopted many dogs and a cat who would have been put down if not for John. John also loved going on cruises, the highlights being the QE2 travelling from London to New York. In more recent years, some of the cruises that he and Marge went on included New Zealand, the Caribbean and Vanuatu. He actually loved his beach out. It was nautical themed as well, the Torquay, the place for many holidays and adventures for his family. Of course, everybody knows that John was full of dad jokes and sayings which he repeated constantly. He loved to listen to 3AW. He actually called them up a fair bit. Don't know what they thought of that. God, here's John again. And he was a creature of habit. You know, he got up every day at 4 a.m. He was in bed by 8 p.m. A good man. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He never took a sick day. He loved to brag that he would never retire. Of course, he was a pure English royalist, and he loved his queen and the royal family. Actually, John was also pretty on top of technology. He was an early adapter to new technology. He loved to show off how clear his picture image was and always had the best sound systems. Marge would have to let him buy these. He always wanted the best and the newest. From laser discs to DVDs to the Blu-ray player, he always had to have it first. He also loved Facebook and he posted daily. You never had to worry about what John was up to because you knew. He was a very active man. And you know, John enjoyed good health for most of his life. He managed his type 2 diabetes very well since 1990. He was a cancer survivor, and John was always positive. Sadly, in late 2025, just last year, he did suffer a stroke, which began the decline in his health. And he passed away at Sunshine Hospital on the 28th of Feb, 2026, surrounded by his loving family. And John was aged 84. What a positive and wonderful life that John has lived. Something to really celebrate today. And before we hear from those closest to him, I'm going to invite John's family to come forward to light a candle in honour of him and in memory of him. And we'll listen to a song which has been especially chosen for today. Please come forward now.
Sogno all'orizzonte, mancano le parole. Sì, lo so che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manca il sole. Se non ci sei tu con me, su le finestre, mostra a tutti il mio cuore che hai acceso. Chiudi dentro me la luce che hai incontrato per strada. Con te partirò, paesi che non ho mai vissuto con te, adesso sì li vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che io lo so, non esistono più, con te io li vivrò. Quando sei lontana sogno all'orizzonte e mancano le parole. E io solo so che sei con me, tu mia luna, tu sei qui con me. Io solo tu sei qui con me, con me, con me, con me. Con te partirò. così li vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che io lo so, no, non esistono più, con te io li rivivrò, con te partirò su navi per mari che io lo so, no, non esistono più, con te io li rivivrò, con te partirò.
Thank you. The amazing vocals of Andrea Bocelli and the traditional time to say goodbye. The lighting of a candle signifies the light of a person who has passed away shining brightly. Lighting candles are a symbolic act to honour John. They represent remembrance and hope and the continuation of his memory. Well, let's now hear from those who are closest to John. Firstly, a welcome to his sons, Jeremy, Jarrod and Alex. Welcome to you, gents, and thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for attending the send-off for Dad, John Walter Youings. When I look back now, one of the things that really stands out is how much Mum and Dad took us travelling when we were kids. At the time we enjoyed it, but we probably didn't fully understand how lucky we were. That's just how kids are. Yeah, so when you're really young, it's exciting, but you hit your teens and you start wanting to do your own thing with your mates. But we were lucky, we got to see family in England, travel to USA and go on cruises more than once. Those trips stay with us, and it's only later in life that you appreciate what your parents put into making those experiences happen. Even later on in life, in 2024, being able to go on a cruise together again with Mum and Dad was something special. Dad wasn't as mobile as he once was, but he still got round, making friends, talking politics and enjoying himself. I'm really glad he got to have those holidays in his later years. We also found our way back into jet ski racing and the VJSVA after what was probably a 20-year break. Some people may know why that gap was there and some probably do not. But I think Dad just needed time away from club life and wanted to focus on his own goals. When I was younger, I pushed to get back into it, but something clearly was pulling him away at the time, and that was fine. Around 2016, when jet ski racing returned, we went to a few race meets, and after that, pretty much we never missed an event. He generally enjoyed being around it, and he entered a few time trial races, and he actually got a medal, which is right there. He was pretty proud. Being back at the Water Sports Centre meant a lot to him. Along with the beach, it became another home from home. When I was about 9, Dad taught me how to ride the 550, which is right there. It was usually in the middle of winter, and we would brave the cold, and he would tie a rope to around his body and tie it to the front of the ski, and then so I could stay close. And we spent most of the time learning how to ride, falling off, and I think it was pretty fun that he was there for that moment, and I'll never forget that. Going to Jan Juck was a huge part of our lives. That house wasn't just a holiday house. It was home from home. Dad spent nearly 50 years going there, and even before that, family trips to Brimley at the caravan park. He fell in love with that part of the coast, and I can see why. Between the three of us boys, we helped him fix the house when we could. Sometimes it felt constant, but that was just part of it. The jet skis lived there, family friends came through, and those years mean more to us than we probably ever would say out loud. As recently as last October, Dad was still attending race meets. He wasn't feeling great the last one he went to. He did have food poisoning, but he was still there. When he did not turn up for an event, people would often ask where he was, and that always said a lot about his presence. Over the years, I've lost count how many people I've met through jet skiing or through work networks that knew Dad. When they found out I was his son, there was always that moment of recognition and excitement. People often over their 40s, 50s and even into their 60s would talk about racing with him, working with him or crossing paths, whether it was at the water sports centre or down the coast. He built connections naturally. He built connections naturally long before networking meant anything online, and he left a good impression wherever he went. Looking back now, hearing those stories is not just cool, it is heartwarming. It reminds me that Dad did just not live within our family, he lived within a much bigger community, one that still remembers him, talks about him, and still smiles when his name comes up. I'd just like to thank Tobin Brothers Funeral Parlour for putting this on, and Paul and the funeral staff, and thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here today to honour and remember John. It means a great deal to our family to see so many whose lives were touched by him. And a big thank to Tobin Brothers today, and Lou, who was a great friend of Dad. Dad often spoke fondly of you. He'd always tell me you got caught rubbing your hands behind the coffin. So I'll be sure to keep an eye on you today. When I think about Dad, the first thing that comes to mind is the first time I outsmarted him. During one of our many trips to Marysville, we were staying in a hotel called the Cumberland. I was in the lobby and needed to use the toilet. But 8-year-old me was confused by the letter M and F that were written on the doors, as I was accustomed to the traditional toilet gender symbols. Through trial and error, I figured out that M was for boys and F was for girls. Later that day in the same lobby, Dad asked me, "Where's the toilet?" I led him to the toilet and explained M was for mothers and F was for fathers. Dad nodded his head and replied, "Oh yeah," and proceeded to walk in the father's toilet. I patiently waited outside, and about 10 seconds later, Dad came racing out, shaking his fist in the air, shouting, "You!" and hastily ran into the mother's toilet. Over the years, I asked my dad many times if he really fell for that, and he always said that he did. Guess he was just busting to use the toilet that day. Being English, Dad had a very sophisticated sense of humour. It was always the dog that farted, even when we were on a plane. In the early 90s, Dad had a shop in St Albans. On the wall in the shop, he had a display of different light globe fittings that he would use to test light globes. One day, I was there with Dad and Emmanuel, his business partner. Dad was eager to show off his new hot wire tester. He proceeded to insert the tester into one of the light globe fittings, and the tester made a consistent beeping noise. To which Dad exclaims, "This is a hot wire." He turns to us with a smug expression on his face when suddenly a giant bang and flame shot out of the light fitting. I was stunned, but Dad just burst into laughter. Emmanuel keeled over and went into a fit of laughter on the floor, and I followed suit. To this day, I've never seen anyone laugh that hard. People often say that you grow more like your parents the older you get, but I never really believed that applied to Dad and I. We were very different people, so I thought. Dad was never much of a drinker. The occasional drop of red on special occasions was about it. But he did love his Pepsi Max. I was staying in Torquay, and while walking through the bottle shop, I noticed a competition where if you buy 10 cans of Jack and Coke, you go into a running to win a Jack Daniels guitar. I'm not much of a fan of JD, but a free guitar sounds pretty cool, which I did end up winning. I drank a few of the cans, but ended up leaving the rest in the fridge at Torquay. Cut to a few weeks later, and Dad was staying at Torquay and not paying attention had grabbed what he thought was a Pepsi Max. After finishing the can, his head starts swimming and he starts to feel a bit odd. It was then that he realised he'd grabbed one of my cans of JD. He called me up the next day to tell me about his rager of a night on the piss, to which I laughed and said, "Learn to read the label, Dad." Cut forward a few weeks, and I'm back at Torquay, and decided to have one of the cans of JD that was still in the fridge. As I said, I'm not a huge fan of JD, but after the final sip of my drink, I thought to myself, geez, these JDs really do taste like shit. It was then that I realised that I'd grabbed one of Dad's Pepsi Maxes. So I guess we're more alike than I thought. These are just a few of the wonderful stories I have of my dad. Dad taught me more than he ever knew, mostly by example and sometimes by accident. I'm grateful for every moment, every laugh, and every story we have to share. I love you, Dad. Always.
I'd like to read on behalf of Jeremy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for being here to honour my dad, John. My dad was an outgoing man, a true people person, the kind of guy you could start a conversation anywhere about anything and usually walk away from that conversation with a new mate. As an electrician, he worked hard, he took real pride in what he did, and if something needed fixing, Dad either knew how to fix it or was very confident he could figure it out along the way. He had a big personality, a great sense of humour, and a way of making people feel comfortable, sometimes just within a few short minutes, and sometimes whenever you were ready or not. That was Dad, proud and full of life, and always bringing a bit of laughter with him. More than anything, he loved his family and the people around him. Dad, thank you for your strength, your laughs, and everything you taught us. We'll carry you with us always. Rest easy, John. We love you. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. Thanks, mate. And God bless you, mate. Thank you. And thank you to the three boys who have enjoyed life with such a great dad, who's been encouraging, who's let them make their mistakes, but he's always been there for them. And we thank you all very much. Thank you, gents. Thank you, Seth. Thank you. Well, I'd like to invite Jenny, Lawry and Faye, Tully, sisters-in-law, to come forward and share some of their memories of John with us. Welcome to you, ladies, and thank you. Thank you. Troublemakers in the family.
My name is Jenny and this is Faye, and we are Margie's younger sisters. John came into our lives when I was 11 and Faye was 9, 58 years ago, and from the very beginning we loved him like a brother. He brought so much colour and excitement into our world. He always had fancy cars and we absolutely loved it when he'd take us for a spin, even if Margie wasn't always thrilled about it. I'll never forget the day he won a Mercedes in a raffle and could barely contain his excitement as he showed it off. When we were young, he spoiled us with gifts, electric ovens, TVs and so many other things that made our whole family feel incredibly lucky. But it wasn't the presents that stayed with us, it was the kindness and the generosity behind him. That was John. A big heart, always thinking of others, always wanting to make people happy. We know many of you here today would have felt that same warmth from him. His love for England never faded, nor did his admiration for the King and the Queen and the royal family. And we'll always treasure our trips to Torquay, watching him have the time of his life on his jet skis. Margie and John shared nearly 60 years of love. John spoke of his lady Marjorie with deep admiration, and the love between them was evident in every part of their lives. Margie's care for John, especially in his final days, and the support of her boys and family reflect a strength, love and dedication that deserve heartfelt recognition. John had a cheeky sense of humour, one that stayed with him right through his time in hospital. Even in difficult moments, he found a way to make us smile. Keep riding those waves, Sir John. You will always be loved and you'll always be remembered.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much. The little troublemakers of the family, Marge, those two. But thank you, girls. Thank you so much for your lovely memories over 58 years. I'd now like to invite the grandchildren to come forward. They're going to say a few words together as a group. So those who'd like to speak, please come forward now. Come up. Good on you, kids.
I'm Fletcher. My fondest memories of Grandpa are the times I spent at Torquay with him. I loved when he would take me for milkshakes at the Salty Dog. Grandpa would sometimes take me on jobs with him, and he taught me about what the earth wire is. Wait, what? Oh. I'm Fletcher. My fondest memories of Grandpa are the times I spent at Torquay with him. I loved when he would take me for milkshakes at the Salty Dog. Grandpa would sometimes take me on jobs with him, and he taught me about the earth wire. And every time I saw him after that, he would ask me, "What colour is the earth wire?" Yeah, I'm finished.
My name is Parker. My name is Parker, and the fondest memory I have of Grandpa was during Christmas when he would take his dentures out and chase us around the house. And any time I'd go to his house, he'd let me have a can of his Pepsi Max.
My name is Winona. Some of my earliest memories with Grandpa are the trips to Torquay Beach with him, my grandma and Uncle Alex. He even convinced me to go on the jet ski with Alex, which I absolutely loved. Those days felt simple and safe and were the kind of memories I still remember like yesterday. When I was little, the family dog Meg would sometimes sleep with me. Grandpa would let her stay until he woke up early for work, He'd quietly open the door so she could go along with him. He had many pets over the years, which he absolutely adored. At home, I'd spend time with him in the lounge room while he watched me play with Lego. We didn't talk much during those moments, but being in his presence meant more than I realised at the time. But more recently, at family gatherings, he never lost his sense of humour. He'd make sure no one was around and sneak a chocolate from the table, then tell me not to tell anyone, even though he was diabetic. It felt like we were always sharing a secret, and it's one of the ways I always remember him, cheeky, playful, and still finding joy in the little things. Grandpa John showed his love through small, meaningful moments, through his presence, his kindness, and his gentle mischief. I feel incredibly lucky to have grown up with these memories, and I always carry them with me. It's hard to believe you're gone now. I'm grateful for how much time we had together. I'm glad I was able to be by your side until the very end. Thank you for everything, Grandpa. I'll miss you.
Say your memories.
No.
Tell him what he's told you on Easter.
No.
Go on.
No.
Do you want to come? No.
So you're saying
Do you want to say anything?
I want to say a few things, but I don't want to go first.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Okay, I can go first. Okay. I don't know where to start, but today we are gathered to say goodbye to a man who meant so much to so many of us, my grandfather and my son's great-grandfather. It's hard to put into words the weight of this loss because he wasn't just someone we loved, but he was someone who shaped us, one of those rare people whose presence made you feel safe, the kind of man whose values didn't need to be spoken out loud because he lived them every single day. To me, he was one of the best men that could ever walk this earth. Strong, kind, patient, and deeply loyal. He showed us what it meant to work hard, to care for family, and to stand by the people you love. As a grandfather, he gave love without conditions. And as a great-grandfather, even with the short amount of time he shared with my son, he became a part of a legacy that will live on far beyond today. My son may not fully know the depth of who his grandfather was, but he will grow up hearing stories of a man who mattered, a man who loved, helped, and shaped the family we are, and that matters more than words we can say. One of the memories that stood out the most was John lying in the hospital bed, insisting on a photo of himself with Kylen. That moment said everything about who he was. Family always came first. We will miss him deeply, his presence, his guidance, but we carry him with us in lessons he taught, the values he passed down, and the love he gave so freely. That's all I have to say, but rest peacefully. You'll always be loved. You'll never be forgotten. Thank you. That was good. You don't want to say anything?
I don't know what to say.
Okay. Thomas, no? You don't want to say anything?
I'm going to say
Just say memories. Easter. Or me up. Do you want to go with me up? Sure. Just want to go with me up? Mayor can go with you.
Can you stand up? You talk right into that microphone. Stand right up. Say your name. Say your name.
Say your name. Say hi. Hello.
Big voice.
Hi, my name's Mia.
And I'm gonna miss my grandpa.
And I'm gonna miss my grandpa.
Anything else to say? That's okay.
How do you think you got it? Do you want to stand on that or you're on? You can stand on it.
Yeah. Okay. You stand up. We got you.
As you know, my grandfather, John, he was always the best grandpa. He would always tell me, don't tell Nana
I stole chocolates. And I always would keep it a secret, because normally that's what I'll do, because I never break secrets. And on Easter, he would always ask for chocolate. It was the best memories I could ever have.
What did you say to him? I told him don't get too many chocolates.
Yeah.
Well done, kid. Anyone else? Come on.
Hello, my name's Thomas, and I'd just like to say he was like the best grandpa to me, and I've had many good memories of him. Like stealing chocolates, pulling teeth out. It was all funny, wish the best for him, and I love him very much. Thank you.
Let's give these kids a little round of applause. Thanks, kids. Take a seat again. Well, kids, thank you all for speaking today. You guys are a credit to your families. You're a credit to your grandfather, and he would be really proud of you all for speaking about him today, I think. So well done to you all. And I can also guarantee you that nobody that you know has got a grandfather like yours. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please now turn your attention to the screen here in the chapel, and we're going to watch a photographic tribute to John. We'll watch that now.
and one day closer to death. Every year is getting shorter, never seem to find the time. Plans that neither come to naught, or half the pages with lines, hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way. The time is gone, the song is over. Thought I'd something more to say. Home again. I like to be here when I can. When I come home, cold and tired, it's good to warm my bones beside the fire. Far away across the field, tolling on the iron bell, calls the faithful to their knees. We hear the softly spoken magic spell.
Well, some wonderful photos there, and of course that final frame we see John standing on his pride and joy. What a great thrill it was for him, and what a man who really helped grow that sport in Australia. We're going to hear now from great friend Ian Hick, who a long-term family friend. Ian, welcome to you, and thank you for speaking today.
Thank you very much. Well, how does that sound? Is that all right? Close enough? All right? Yeah, we've heard a lot about John from his family. I was his true mate, his best buddy. So I'll say what I've written here because I might go astray. Today we're here to celebrate John, a loving husband to Marge, a father, a grandfather and a great-grandfather, a pioneer, and to me, my best mate. John's story started a long way from here. He came to Australia as a 10-pound pom, he told me so many times. Like so many who arrived here with much more than hope, hard work and willingness to give things a crack. And that really summed up John. He didn't just come here to get by. He came here to build a life, to contribute, and to leave things a bit better than he found them. In the 80s and 90s, John was right there helping pioneer jet skiing in Victoria, as we've heard, back when most people were still asking, what's even a jet ski? John saw what it could become. He had that mix of curiosity, courage and determination. And he wasn't afraid of hard work or being first. A lot of people were inspired by that, whether he realised it or not. As proud as he was of his achievements, John's biggest pride was always his family. He was a father of 3 boys, a grandfather and a great-grandfather. His legacy lives on with them, in their strength, their humour and their loyalty. He was someone who could depend on, someone who showed up, and someone who cared deeply if he didn't always say it out aloud. John was also a devoted, loving husband to Marge. Together they shared life full of experiences and adventures. We were lucky, the wife and I, to enjoy many cruises and European holidays together, trips filled with laughter and stories of good food and memories that will stay for us forever. Those travels said a lot about John. He loved seeing the world. He loved even more sharing it with people he cared about. For me, John was more of all of that. He was my best mate. We spoke every morning. Yeah, and I really mean every morning. It just became part of daily life. Geez, I miss it so much. Some days we talked about important things, other days absolutely nothing at all. But it always mattered. John listened, he remembered, and he generally cared. That sort of friendship is rare. John had a steady way about him, no fuss, no drama. He didn't need to be the loudest voice in the room. He just had a presence that made you feel grounded. And if you were lucky enough to be his friend, you knew he had his back. We're going to miss the calls, the stories, and the quiet moments of understanding. We'll miss his voice and the way he's looking at things, but better for knowing him and grateful for the time we had. John lived a full life, one built on love, family, friendship, adventure, and loyalty. His impact will be felt a long time through the people he touched and the lives he shaped. Rest easy, mate. Thanks for the friendship, the mornings, the memories. You'll always be with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ian. You know, true friendship we don't always have in life, and I think you and Ian and also John understood true mateship and its value and its importance in your life, and you both embraced that. So to you we offer heartfelt sympathy today because you've also lost somebody very close. Thank you for speaking. I'd like to invite Lou Gionfriddo, who is the past manager here, still works for Tobin Brothers, and of course knew John so well through Brimbank Rotary, and we welcome Lou to say a few words today. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Paul. Firstly, I want to say thank you to the Youings family for giving me this great honour to speak about this wonderful man. John Walter Youings, a loyal English gentleman, a true patriot, tireless worker, humility and care for others, a man that was committed to his family and to the community. I'm going to tell you a little bit about John's Rotary life. We've heard so much about him, but little about his Rotary life. So this is my job today, to just enlighten you a little bit about John's Rotary life. John was approached to join the Rotary by Alan Puli and Vince Della. And at the time, John had an electrical shop in Elfrida Street, St Albans, as did Alan and Vince, so they were in Elfrida Street as well. After several discussions, John was convinced. So John decided to join the Rotary for him. It was for him. And in August of 1993, John was inducted to the St Albans Rotary Club before it became Brimbank. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So it was initially the St Albans Rotary Club. And it wasn't before long John introduces us Rotarians to his passion of jet skis. He asked the Rotary Club, man, a car park at one of our jet ski club meets at Patterson Lakes it was, Patterson Lakes. Well, let me tell you, the Rotary Club ended up with many, many, many gold coins. You see, the parking was a gold coin fee. So we thank John for that. That was one of the great introductions to his fabulous jet ski life. John gave so much of himself to Rotary in many, many different ways. He gave his time, his skills, and I must also mention how Marjorie and John looked after exchange students for Rotary. And that meant looking after young people that came to Australia from other countries, and they lived in the Ewings home for many, many months and John and Marjorie took them around various parts of Australia. So that was one of the Rotary programs that Rotary runs. I spoke to Athena Vass. Some of you may know her, some of you may not. She was a Rotary Club member at the time of Brimbank and tells and shares fond memories of the time she worked with John at Scope, just down the road, beautifying the environment for young people with disabilities. Available and nothing was too hard attitude, that was John. I recall the selfless, sorry, I've lost my page here. John also was involved with the St Albans Secondary College, with students there, work placement and community projects. He was heavily involved with the kids. He loved working with them. John resigned from Rotary, however, in 1996. His heart never left Rotary, and the friends that he made through the Rotary ideals were so much and a big part of his life. So, in August 12th of 2012, John rejoined the Rotary Club of Brimbank Central, been renamed from St Albans to Brimbank. John became president, and you may have heard that already, but he became president of Brimbank Central in 1917 to 1918. Once again, did I get the right dates? 2017. I beg your pardon. Did I say 20? I beg your pardon. See, I'm getting old, folks. But anyway, 20, not 19. It was 2017 and to 2018. And once again, John's true qualities showed through. He shone. And he had wonderful support from Marjorie and indeed the whole Youings family. Available and nothing was too hard attitude. That was John. I recall the work and the selfless efforts that John put into the Green Gully Traffic Centre, one of our projects at the time, and you've probably driven past it a million times. John did all the electrical work to make sure that that place became a reality, and it's still going. So John's legacy remains with that traffic centre. John's presidential year was truly a memorable year for different reasons. Sadly, at the end of the Rotary year of 2018, I got the right date this time, Brimbank Central Rotary Club had to hand back its charter. This broke John's heart, as it did for the remaining, and I still get emotional, few Rotarians. Too few trying to do so much. That year, Marjorie, Jarrod and Alexander were awarded one of the highest recognitions of Rotary, the Paul Harris Fellow. And for those that aren't aware what the Paul Harris Fellow is, it's the highest recognition of Rotary for those that live the spirit of service above self. There is so much more that could and should be said about John Youings. A great family man, Rotarian, gentleman, patriot, and a dear friend to many. On a personal note, I remember the many visits from John at this particular location here in my office. He'd walk in, put the billy on, so we'd have a cuppa together, talk about various topics. You know, Rotary life was an important part of the Youings family, as you saw on some of the photos. It was, it was very, very important. And, Rotary was so glad to have the Youings family as part of the millions in our organisation. John, you'll be able to climb your last ladder. I keep seeing these photos of John standing on top of a ladder. So, John, you'll be able to climb your last ladder to greater heights now, knowing truly that you left a great mark on this world. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lou, very much, and what a great friendship, both in and out of Rotary, and what Rotary meant to John was just so important in his life. So we thank Lou for speaking today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of our service today for John, I invite you just for a few moments to let your minds go back to a time that you've shared with him. I'd like you to think about a happy time and a time that you'll always remember. And so for a few moments, we'll honour him with some reflection, remembrance and respect. Shh. And I would like to share a verse which has been especially chosen for today. So let's reflect. Feel no guilt in laughter. He'd know how much you care. Feel no sorrow in a smile that he is not here to share. You cannot grieve forever, and he would not want you to. He'd hope you'd carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times and the way you showed that you cared, the days you spent together and the happiness you shared. Let memories surround you. A word someone may say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, a day. That brings him back as clearly as though he was still here and fills you with the feeling that he is always near. For if you keep those moments, you'll never be apart, and he will live forever, locked safely in your hearts. And the message there is, when you're missing John, just think about him and he'll be there with you. And I also encourage you all to continue to talk about John, to say his name out loud and never forget his life. His life was lived with love and care and respect for his family and friends, a true gentleman, as we've heard. And in one way or another, everybody here, John has made a difference to you all in his life. And you just can't forget somebody who gave you so much to remember. And so to you, John, although there is sadness today as we do say goodbye, there is gratitude for your life and for sharing life with you. But rest now at the end of your days. Rest in the hearts and the minds of all those who love you. And so it's with love we shall leave you in peace, and with respect we bid you a fond farewell. John is survived by his loving family, his wife Marge, his sons and their respective partners, Jeremy, Jarrod and his wife Edwina, Alex and his partner Ingrid, his grandchildren, Winona, Lily and Jackson, Thomas, Benjamin, Ava, Parker, Fletcher, Mia and of course great-grandchild Kylen, his sister Mary who joins us online today, his brother Paul and sister-in-law Julie. He was also a much-loved and very respected brother-in-law and uncle. And of course today, as we remember John, we also have in our hearts and minds his brother Jimmy, who passed away in 2018. What great friends they were. They will be causing havoc wherever they are together. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as we do prepare now to farewell John from this chapel, I invite you to please stand if you would. Today we don't just mourn John's passing, we honour his spirit. We carry forward his laughter and his drive, his ability to find joy in every moment and to share that joy with others. To his family, you will always feel different now because life without John will be quieter and slightly dimmer. But I can assure you John's light has not gone out. It lives on in the stories you tell, in the way you love, in the strength you find to carry on. His legacy is written in the lives he touched, and that will never fade. And finally to you, John, may you forever rest in peace with the certain knowledge that you are and always will be dearly loved and sadly missed. And we will hold you close within us, and that's where you remain throughout our own lives until we do meet again. And so it is with love and reverence that we do commit you to the elements from where we all come and to where we all will one day return. We do this, John, with the grace you deserve and with love and with care. John Walter Youings, thank you for all you were and for all you gave in this life, and may you rest in peace.
Please come on out.